Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Have You Ever Played podcast, the only podcast that stands Chris Pratt being Mario. I am Matt Fondude, aka Matt. Wait a minute, it's backwards. Whatever. I'm back with James. He is alive. He's here. He's okay. James, tell the audience that you're not an AI and you're alive.
Yes, I am totally not an AI, and I'm totally alive, and not an actual engram of the one and only James O4E.
I see you drop an engram. You're playing a lot of Cyberpunk, I can tell.
Yes.
And okay, anyway, sorry. We're already off topic, but we have to stay on topic. We're the Have You Ever Played podcast. We're basically a podcast where we're like a book club for games. We're talking about games. This week we're talking about Mario 64, a game we both played 2 weeks ago. And we'll try very hard to remember our opinions. James, you want to give us a little background on the game?
Yes, Super Mario 64 was released in on June 23rd, 1996. It was published by Nintendo, and it was released on the N64, and the actual release date for the N64 version was September 29th, 1996.
Now, do you have nostalgia for the Nintendo 64 at all?
No, not really.
I
Uh,
don't
the,
either.
so like the closest thing I have to nostalgia for the N64 is at my dentist they have these like they had Nintendo 64s and you could play like a bunch. It was literally just Mario games.
Mhm.
And you'd like play them while you were waiting for your dentist, of course. But yeah, that's pretty much my only memories of the actual N64.
Now, it's funny you say that. I don't know if we went to the same dentist, but my dentist also had a Nintendo 64 that had like the original Smash Brothers on it,
Hmm.
and that was my exposure to the N64 as well. Weird that that was a thing. I feel like I guess
Yeah,
maybe
that's
the N64 was like the start of like the Play Palace kind of like we're gonna set
yeah,
up a video game in a store for kids to play on kind of thing, which they don't do anymore really.
yeah. I miss it. I miss walking by the video game section and seeing a bunch of kids play some random game on PlayStation while their parents are telling them they have to leave.
You know what? It might be because it's like what are you gonna do? Put like a switch there and have like there's so many you can't just put a cartridge into a console and have it like play the game. Like you have all this like interfaces and all that stuff. Like it
Yeah,
seems like it would be harder to just have a PS5 set up and like you know what I mean. Like it is weird.
yeah,
It's not as a simple time anymore. But I'm
yeah. The
sure
times are
viewers at
changing.
home, please write into us if you actually see those in the wild, like game stations. I haven't really seen them except for like stores that's trying to sell games.
Hmm.
Well, anyway, on to the topic at hand. Mario 64. My first experiences with this game were actually the DS remake of
Same.
Mario 64, which I think is called like Super Mario 64 DS or something like that. I think that was a launch title for the DS.
Yeah, I believe so. I actually have a lot of I don't know memories playing that game. Most of them were not happy. Most of them were trying to finish the wing cap level.
Mhm.
And especially on the DS, the controls were not fun.
Yeah, I don't think I could even figure out that the wing cap existed until like later on when I was like going on like cheatcodes.com or GameFAQs or one of
Yeah,
those websites.
yeah. I saw it on a YouTube video, and I think it was one of the missions in the first like area that you go into, the one with all the bomb bombs.
Hmm.
It was like this guy was saying like, yeah, it's a lot easier if you have the wing cap. I'm like, oh, how do I get the wing cap? And I looked it up. I found out, oh, that's a cool little secret. This should be easy peasy. It was not easy peasy at all.
Yeah, and weirdly enough, to like we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit. There are a lot of secrets in Mario 64 that are like necessary. They're like mandatory secrets basically. Like you
Yeah,
kind of need like I feel like maybe you don't need the wing cap, but like it's kind of obscure. You have to use the camera, go first person, look at the sun. Like it is odd, right? It's a weird thing.
yeah. I think the metal cap was also it was a little obscure. It wasn't too hard to find, but I
Oh, I think I lost you. All right, we're back. We had a little bit of a technical hiccup because not to reveal how the sausage is made, but we're actually recording the podcast remotely. and we had a bit of a 2020 Zoom "Can you hear me" moment. So, James, you're talking
Yeah.
about Metal Mario.
Yeah. So Metal Mario, it was actually for a specific mission. It was required to have the metal cap because it's like there's like an updraft or something in the water, and you had to be Metal Mario to like resist it and like get the star that was in there. Um, and not that stars were necessarily scarce, but I found that like as you like in the second area, as you were getting closer to like that 30 star requirement, it became harder to get them for the most part. So you were kind
Hmm.
of looking for the ones that were you're looking for the freebies basically, like collecting all the red coins, ones that are literally just like you walk into an area and the star is just there, things like that.
Yeah, and maybe like I don't want to get too into Mario 64 DS. That could be its own episode, honestly, because
Yeah.
that's a completely different game. Like it is not really even a remake. There's a lot different.
Hmm.
Maybe we could talk about. So since we both don't really have nostalgia for the original N64 version of this game, um, what did you think about your kind of initial impressions? Like the first thing that comes to mind is just the technical flex that is the floating Mario head that you're allowed to grab and like squeeze and do whatever. Which today
Yeah.
is like, well, whatever, it's a novelty. But like for one of the first 3D games that like actually had impact, like that must have been crazy. Just be like, look how good Mario looks on that title screen, and he still looks good today compared to
Hmm.
N64 games and how they look.
Yeah, I think one of the first things I noticed, very first thing I noticed was text is hard to read, like a
Texas
little.
archery?
Text is hard to read
Oh, I
a
thought you
little.
said
Like, yeah,
Texas archery.
no, yes, I'm a big fan of Texas archery,
I,
but
I
yeah, the
thought that was. Mhm,
text was a little too pixelated for my taste. It wasn't unreadable by any
mhm.
means. And I'm sure like at the time, people's eyes were more used to that stuff.
Well, I think you have to account for the CRT television because a lot of games were designed in a way where they intended you to play on a CRT television, which is going to have all this natural like scan lines. You're going to have all this kind of
Yeah.
like anti-aliasing, honest, like in terms of how it's going to look. So I know a lot of games. I think Symphony of the Night does this, where I think there's like a portrait in that game of Dracula that
Hmm.
looks like garbage if you look at it like with no filtering. But when you filter it with like the scan lines, he has like glowing eyes and it blends all the colors together. So I think that's just kind
Yeah.
of a modern um, issue playing on modern technology and modern screens and stuff like that.
Yeah. Definitely.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, besides that, I noticed the momentum that you gain when you run, and like the whole thing where you can like run into walls and like fall over. I thought that was really cool. I think not enough games even today do it. Uh, like even off the top of my head, I can think of like so few games that actually like as you run, you get faster. Like what a concept! You don't start off at your maximum speed when you're running.
Yeah, movement is very fluid in Mario 64. There's a lot of
Hmm.
freedom, and I think Odyssey later on has a similar level of freedom in how you can play the game. But Mario 64 really just like, and it is kind of interesting that they don't necessarily tell you all the moves you can do. I'm assuming you would learn all the different moves. Like you can do like the backflip if you hold the crouch. You can do the backwards jump if you run forward and press backwards quickly and jump. You can do, of course, the long jump, which is hold the
Hmm.
crouch and long jump. But I believe maybe in the signs in the game, because there's a lot of tutorial signs in this game.
Yes.
That's one thing I've noticed very early on is you'll read a sign that literally says like it's like a paragraph of just how to use the camera. Because like people
Yeah.
playing this game for the first time probably had no idea, like what they had no idea that like camera, like how to do 3D camera movement as a player. That's something we kind of take for granted now because everyone's so familiar with games. Just imagine trying to teach a player from like a game design perspective, like teach a player how to
Hmm.
move in a 3D space and then use like a camera, which is I think why
Yeah.
they use the Lakitu as an example.
Yeah. So lots of that stuff was in on some of little um the little text things. God, I can't remember what we just called them. My brain's farting.
Oh, the signs.
Yeah, the signs. Yeah, a lot of that stuff was on the signs. I did read most of them, mostly because so So punch and interact are on the same button,
Hmm.
and it led to many goofy moments where I'm just punching the person I'm trying to talk to. Um, and I was trying to like get myself used to like the distance at which punch changes to interact. So I ended up reading like pretty much all of the signs. Um, and yeah, I think what was really cool is the game doesn't have like waypoints really, but it always has. There's almost always something you can interact with where it'll tell you what you're supposed to do, and these interactions are repeatable, which I think was really cool. So,
Hmm.
lots of the time you'll interact with a character in another game. They'll tell you like, oh, you're supposed to go here and do this, and then you go back to them and they're like, why haven't you done it yet? And like, done what?
Yeah, you
Tell me what I
forget.
need to do again, please.
Yeah, Mario 64 is it honestly is a perfect portable game for when they did re-release it because it is so
Yeah,
bite-sized and you can just do a mission. It takes like a couple minutes depending on the mission and you can really just like sit down for a session. I want to get like 3 stars tonight or you could chunk it up. Like there's really not a lot of
yeah,
commitment. You don't have to like sit and like do stuff. Um
hmm
and there's a lot of flexibility in how you play the game and what stars you want to get. I'm sure our routes that we've taken are very different in what stars we've already gotten, even though we've gotten the same
yeah,
amount to get to the Bowser door.
yeah. I think I really like the way that they set up the stars too, where it's like even just the mission name gives you a general idea of what you're doing.
Hmm.
I think one thing that I did run into though was a little funny that got me stuck for a really long time was like so obviously it's a very old game, but like the render distance of stuff. Like I remember
Hmm.
one of these characters telling me like, yeah, you cross this bridge and you cross the second bridge, and so I'm running around, and I'm looking for the second bridge. I'm like, where's the second bridge? I see this big gap between like me and this area, and I'm like running around like trying to figure out, and then like I walk a little bit closer and the bridge just pops in.
Yeah, I mean that's again like limitations.
Yeah.
Especially the N64 had like a lot of limitations, and
hmm
that's kind of why I think there's a lot of N64 games that are like kind of bad. I mean, most mainline Nintendo games are going to be good.
hmm
But like a lot like the N64 is kind of a rough console, especially when you don't have nostalgia for it. But I will definitely say that this game 100% holds up, even though it is there's some rough areas. Um, but yeah, the render distance being one of the things. I think the areas for an N64 game as well, the areas are actually very varied, and they have a lot of different art assets and stuff going on. There is some reusage of assets, but I do
hmm
think that each land, like each painting that you jump into, feels very different.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool that some paintings were like a lot bigger, like the snow one, and obviously the initial one with all the bomb bombs. And then you have like ones that are a little more contained, like the underwater one with the ship and the sand one. But I never felt like the ones that were smaller. They didn't like feel too small because the areas actually changed as you completed different stars. Like
Hmm.
especially the underwater one with the eel. Like the eel was always changing locations, and you had to do different things to get it to come out. Um, and like there was different ways of collecting the stars once it came out. So yeah, I just thought it was really cool that it always felt like the areas were full. Like it never felt like they were empty because of their size at all.
Yeah, and one thing I really appreciate is the fact that you could be looking for a star that like is on the map, and you could stumble into finding a different star that you didn't have a
hmm
hint for, and then it shows up that you got it after you beat the level. So there's like a lot of I think this game has a lot of good secrets in it, and a lot of good kind of like obscure things like the wing cap, the ghost, like getting the secret boo area. There's that one wall once you get past the first Bowser door that's just a painting. The wall to get to I think it's the desert.
Yeah.
Just there's so much stuff like that that really I think makes the game fun to explore and really just kind of look around. Like the game really makes you want to 100% it and get all the stars because it's pretty
hmm
fun to do that. Except I would say with maybe the exception of the 100 coin stars on every level being kind of annoying to get just because it's
yeah.
like not the most fun thing in the world.
Yeah. The funny thing about the desert level is I actually stumbled upon it while I was chasing the bunny that's in that
Hmm.
area. Like, I was chasing and I tried to jump on it, and I accidentally went into the desert level. And I'm just like, sheesh, am I really like? Was the bunny a mirage this whole time,
I do
man?
think that that was probably intentional to get you to like run into it and then be like, oh, like
Yeah,
what is this? I mean, alternatively, if you walk close enough to it, the wall starts to like shimmer a bit, so you
yeah,
do kind of know that it's there.
yeah. I do think like the discovery aspects of this game are really cool. Like discovering the ghost area, like the haunted house or whatever it was.
Hmm.
That was really interesting. I remember the first time I went there, there was like nothing there. Like I couldn't see any of the ghosts or anything. But then like the second time, they were just everywhere. I don't know what triggered it. I think it might have been unlocking the I think it might have been beating Bowser the first time.
I
But
believe that's what does it.
yeah, but I thought it was really cool that like these areas that I'm coming back to that seemed insignificant earlier are like important or
Hmm.
have things there later. So it's like the
Now,
game does a really good job of encouraging like backtracking.
I think we have to kind of talk about the horror elements of Mario
So
64, both external and internal, like actually in the game.
hmm.
I know when I was a kid playing the DS version, that piano, the notorious,
Oh
infamous
yeah,
piano that comes alive in the Boo's Happy Haunt or whatever, the Boo level,
yeah.
did 100% freak me out, and I like turned the game off. I'm like, I'm not playing this game, it's too scary. Um, and maybe even like the King Boo and stuff like that. I do remember like a bunch of things kind of like creeping me out. And this game is kind of creepy. It has like an uncanny valley aspect to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I also think one thing that I thought was like really funny, but also like in a weird way, a little creepy is like the fourth wall breaks with the bosses. Like they say, like, oh, there's no way that you'll get behind me and grab me and spin me 3 times and throw me off of the mountain. And,
Yeah,
and I'm just sitting here like, how? Damn, how far does this go? Do you know that
it
Mario is merely just a vessel for my video game related desires?
well, every copy of Mario 64 is personalized. I mean, that is a fact. It is actually funny that so creepypastas and every copy of Mario is personalized kind of spun off and then create almost I think it created the iceberg category on YouTube, which is the you have an iceberg chart meme where you start at the top level surface information, like Mario
Hmm.
is red and Mario likes to fight Koopas or whatever, and then it gets to like really deep cut stuff like the L is real star and all these like theories and stuff like that. And I'm like
Hmm.
fascinated by these iceberg videos because it's just good content.
Yeah,
And but Mario 64 has all these different like creepy things, and I mean, it's just good fun. But yeah, there is this weird like, and I think Wet Dry World, which we haven't gotten to yet, also is kind of creepy because there is a creepiness to some of the empty spaces in the game,
hmm,
and it feels pretty empty. I don't know how to describe it. There's an
yeah,
unsettlingness to it.
yeah, yeah. I definitely agree that like especially like the hallway to like the second area after you beat Bowser the first time. I thought like there was just a lot of like this is a lot of space there. It was like it contributed a lot to the atmosphere. I think it was really cool.
Hmm. Oh,
Um,
that Bowser hallway, that first Bowser hallway, I definitely fell for the trap the first time I played,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that also probably scared the hell out of me.
Hmm.
Yeah, for
Um,
people who don't know, I guess you fall down a hole trying to get to a Peach portrait because the game's like, "Oh, you beat the game already." It's like, "No, it's not that easy."
yeah, yeah. I think on the topic of Bowser, I did personally find the boss fights with Bowser to be a little underwhelming, simply because well, first of all, you can just get close to him and like run a circle around him. Like in the second fight, he tries to turn a little faster, but it's not fast enough. You can also just walk away from him and bait him into doing his charge in the
Hmm.
second fight. The second one was definitely a lot better though. Like he tilted the arena, he could like breathe fire. What I found really weird is he teleports.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
I
and I'm
noticed
like,
that
I,
too.
I was so surprised by that because like, oh my god, in the Mario universe, Bowser can canonically teleport.
That's exactly what I was like. He just instant transmission teleports
Yeah, I'm,
behind
I'm like,
you.
geez,
Well,
like when did this happen? Like I don't remember this at all.
And I was thinking this is one of those like every copy is personalized moments. I was like, did he do this always? I don't remember this happening. And it's
Yeah.
just like Bowser starts teleporting behind you.
And I'm sitting here like, is this just the power of the stars? Is this something natural for his species? Is he unique within his species? Is he the only one who can do it? Like,
All right,
what is
headcanon.
happening?
Kamek probably gave him some magic power to teleport or something.
Oh man,
Um,
man,
I,
that's crazy.
I would say that the levels themselves are really fun, the Bowser levels, and that's the challenge and the fun. When you actually do the fight, it's a chore. Like, I really don't like the Bowser
Yeah,
fight. I don't think anyone does, especially speedrunners, because it's kind of wonky. And also,
yeah,
if you are speedrunning this game, there's probably been so many runs lost to those Bowser segments because you just choke. Because like it is a lot of pressure to try to hit those bombs. It's really easy to do, but you'll miss a couple times, and it's just like I don't know. They're not that fun.
yeah. I did find it was a little unintuitive the way that, so like as you're spinning, obviously you get faster. Um, and as you get faster, you throw them farther. And there are times when you actually have to throw them far to get to one of the bombs, but you're spinning so fast that it's hard to like time it correctly. And there's also a slight delay from when like you press the button and when he actually like throws him.
Hmm.
So it felt really weird if I didn't get Bowser like right next to one of the bombs to actually try to throw him into it.
Yeah, it's just like I mean I think it's intentional to be difficult so you don't just kill the boss in 1 second. Like
Yeah,
if you get one good throw, the boss's fight is over. I think they try to make it a little like annoying. Um, But it's just
yeah,
not it's
I-
not the best fight in the world. But it doesn't. I don't think
yeah,
it ruins like the game because the levels are still fun and the rest of the game is still fun. The boss fights are just kind of weak.
yeah. It felt especially wonky to me because so obviously it's a boss fight with varying like duration, but it doesn't particularly change that much over time.
Hmm.
Like he doesn't get a new moveset or something like I'm not looking for Dark Souls in Mario, of course, but I guess the thing is like for some people that are having like a lot of trouble with it, it can feel a little monotonous because it's just like you got so close this one time and now he's just doing the exact same thing he's doing before, and it's like it's just like it's almost like a cycle where it becomes less like it's less about the challenge of the boss fight and more about like well did I just hit it this time? 'Cause it's not really getting harder or anything.
Yeah, and I do appreciate the fact that if you die during that boss fight, I think you do respawn at the fight rather than having to do the whole level again.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I think that's a nice quality of life addition to the game
Hmm.
that it would be very frustrating if you had to replay the whole
Yeah,
level, like especially on a boss like that where the boss isn't that interesting.
yeah.
Um
I did end up dying there, and I got like it was after I had missed the bomb a bunch of times, and I got a little frustrated and like wait, do I have to go all the way back to the start now?
mhm.
Yeah, but it was nice that they put that there.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, there was lots of lava in that level, and I guess on the topic of lava, oh man, I had an experience with the lava level. So when I was first playing this game, I did have COVID, and my brain was a little foggy. Um, and so the emulator we're using it has like a section where you can do like your controller settings, and I was using a PS4 controller. Um, and so I had done one setting. I like one of the settings was on default, and I guess it was slightly incorrect to the point where my right analog stick didn't work in the game, so I couldn't actually change the camera. Um, and so there were multiple parts in the lava level where I'd be like trying to narrowly avoid like lava or fire, but I couldn't actually see my character. And then I would end up like messing up the jump or something. And I just fall into a lava pit with nothing nearby. Um, and that is kind of an issue that I think even still plagues 3D platformers is like um, just the camera can be a little wonky, and also like doing jumps in 3D is actually very different from 2D. Like especially edge jumps where you're jumping like from the edge of one platform to the edge of another. It is very weird because when you're moving on a three-dimensional plane, right, you can make like very slight mistakes that'll mess it up. Obviously camera makes it a little weird to do it sometimes too, and it's just generally a lot more difficult to work with a 3D platformer than a 2D one. Especially when uh, you can't guarantee that the player can see something or that they're looking at it, so it can lead to a lot more frustration that I do think it can be worth the, I guess, the risk, because 3D platformers do bring a lot that you can't do in 2D. Like obviously, like the some of the boss fights and some of the sections just wouldn't work in a 2D Mario game, which is why I imagine they made it 3D. Um, but yeah, it's just a lot of considerations you have to take with 3D platformers.
Yeah, and it is something where I think I can give this game a lot of credit as one of the first games to really do 3D well.
Hmm.
Things like the camera, which we should definitely talk about, they function as they should, but I would prefer a modern camera solution, I think. In this
Yeah.
game, you have a very interesting camera system where in universe in the game you have a Lakitu following you with a fishing rod on a camera or camera on a fishing rod. So
Hmm.
in theory, as a player, you're supposed to think, okay, there's a Lakitu behind me, and I can control the position of where the person is using the C stick, and there's like some fixed angles that the Lakitu will go to. So
Hmm.
you almost have like a Resident Evil kind of like fixed camera, but you can kind of control it a little bit, and it's not the worst thing in the world. But there are some moments in the game that are just like really difficult. Like the platforming becomes difficult because you're fighting the camera. And I don't think any other game really has used this camera system. And
Yeah.
I think later on in other like platforming games, they kind of figured out different cameras. But like, I mean, you can sit here all day and just discuss how cameras in 3D games work. Like, there's so many different nuances in how like you want to set up your camera, like even like the viewing angle and how it moves and all that stuff. Um, I do think it's unfortunate that you didn't have cameras at all bound to any controls. Um, but even when it is bound, it is kind of you are fighting the camera sometimes. But I think for the
Yeah.
most part, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's functional.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that I noticed that a lot of modern games do that this game didn't is the camera when you're against like a wall, for example, um the camera has to be like a certain distance away from the player. Basically, like it doesn't really adjust itself. Like you can switch between the farther out camera and Mario himself, but I found that the Mario one was a little bit too close, so it was kind of weird to use. But in lots of third person games nowadays, when you're against a wall, the distance of the camera will actually adjust so that you can look behind yourself pretty much.
Hmm.
But this game didn't have that, so in some platforming sections where I was like very close to a wall, I couldn't quite turn the camera. Um, and what's a little awkward in 3D platforms is when you have to move diagonally and still do platforming. So I tried really hard to avoid that, but there were some cases where I just couldn't. So it did get a little awkward at times dealing with the camera in some areas.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of missed jumps and a lot of like it
Yeah.
does feel almost as if you make a mistake in this game, since I've played a lot of games, it does almost feel like a blame the controller kind of moment, which is never a good
Yeah.
or John's, I guess. It's never a good feeling to be like I would oh man, like the camera or whatever. Um but I think for the most part, and even if you make a mistake in this game, it's every level's so quick that it's like, oh, I made like a 20-second mistake. I guess I'll just it's
Hmm.
fine. Like it's not like I'm gonna fall off the top of a giant tower and have to climb all the way back up. Like it really is not a big deal. Um,
Yeah.
so I think
Um,
overall that's fine.
yeah. Something really funny I actually did end up noticing during my frustration in the lava area. Well, it was actually two things. First of all, when there was like this sign that said it was talking about like the bullies, the things that try to push you into the lava.
Hmm.
It said, don't let the bullies just push you, push back. And I didn't understand what they meant at the time. And I eventually determined like, oh, I'm supposed to jump kick them.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, this is weird. It's not really hitting all the time. Like, I was kind of successful. I completed a couple of missions. When I got to the one where you had to like beat three of them at the same time, I was like, I'll never do this. And then I found out, oh, I just have to jump. I
Hmm.
just jump into them and it just pushes them. Um, so that was a little weird. It was one of the few times where I think the tutorial wasn't quite sufficient for the
Hmm.
area. And then also in the same area, the red hot log rolling mission.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I did
I
not do
found
that
out.
one,
I
but
found
I
out if you
know
just
about
jump
it.
into the lava, if you just jump into the lava, like if you have full health and you hit the lava twice, you actually just get to the end.
Oh.
Like instead of having to deal with like the whole log thing, like you can just literally just jump into the lava, take like 4 ticks of damage or something, you're just fine. You just get the star.
There you go.
So like
Just
you just
doing
don't have
speed
to
run
interact
tech.
with the mission at all. Um, but yeah, the lava area was wonky at times. I think it was a really cool area. I think it had it had the whole part where you go inside of the volcano, which I thought was really nice. It had those like moving elevator things. But yeah, I do think the tutorials in that area were slightly lacking, which was very very uncharacteristic for the game.
Yeah, I mean, I have knowledge of like the speed run and of watching people play the game. It's one of those things where like you're saying you jump kick the bullies. I know that a lot of people what they'll do is you jump and then you ground pound them, which is one way of doing it. It's really easy because they'll run to
Hmm.
the edge. You can just ground pound them. There's a lot of weird little things like that in this game. Like you can jump and ground pound when through like a thwomp or not a thwomp, whatever the giant like walking wall guy is. I forget his name.
Yeah,
The one who goes, like every enemy in this game just does that sound effect basically.
yeah, pretty much. It's reused very frequently.
Yeah, you can solve the levels in a very open way, which is cool,
Yeah,
and yeah, which keeps it. I think it's like infinitely replayable in that regard.
yeah. I think it's really cool that the game has very simple systems. Like you actually don't have that many controls in the game.
Hmm.
But like the way that you can combine them, like as we were talking about earlier, with like the backflip, the long jump, and stuff like that. And the fact that the game actually encourages you to do so. Like there's some, I remember there was one area where it was like, if you know how to do the long jump, go left. If you don't, go right, or something like that. Now I actually think about it, that was where you got the metal cap is by going left. And you had to like get on this like sea dragon thing and like ground pound their back and then get on their head. And then they would move in the direction that Mario was facing, but not the one that you were looking with the camera.
Yeah, it's just
It,
weird
it was
stuff.
a little weird. And their head was really small, so like you couldn't move too much. So you had
I,
to be really careful when you tried to turn around Mario.
we're also playing games from the era of Nintendo Power Secrets, where it's like, yeah, wait, you didn't read issue 52? Actually, I think the first issue of Nintendo Power was Mario 64 as the cover.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like, did you read the issue where it's like, oh, here's in the column, like here's the secret. You just read Nintendo Power.
Yeah, so me personally when I'm playing like single player games especially, I don't like having to like look stuff up, like going to a walkthrough or something because I don't know like where to go or something. But I actually found I did that a couple times with this game, and I had actually I very vague like had very vague memories about like the Nintendo powered issues. I think I have one like somewhere buried under a bunch of stuff in my room.
Hmm.
Um, but like that kind of reminded me like, oh wait, it's actually like you're supposed to not know how to do this stuff like intuitively.
Yeah, and some of it's like that. Some of it is literally like you have to read the manual that comes with the
Yeah,
game to like know all the moves and stuff like that. And that is
yeah,
something that we've come very far away from. Although you do have the alternative of just looking up anything online. It's not as fun, but it's you'll get through the game.
yeah. I do think something actually kind of funny that I noticed near the beginning of the game was everybody knows like in Mario you jump on the Goombas, right? Or
Hmm.
or if you're Chris Pratt you jump on the Koopas. But story for another time. But I actually thought it was really funny when they first teach you about like punching, they put a Goomba in front of you and they say like, yeah, punch the Goomba, and I'm like, this feels wrong.
It is weird seeing the Goombas in 3D space, and like
Yeah,
there's like one Koopa, there's like a couple, but like
yeah.
they're really not you like. There's not a lot of enemies in this game. I think the enemy is the camera and platforming. Like they're really, if you think about it, it's a lot of platforming challenges, and there's like the Goombas have no threat at all. Like what are they gonna do? Like waddle into you? It's not
Take
an
away
issue.
one block of health that you get back by killing them anyway.
Oh yeah, that's something that was probably kind of groundbreaking, not having like the traditional Mario becomes small, becomes big mushroom system and having like a
Yeah,
health bar where you heal by getting coins, which is
yeah, that was a
very
little
odd.
weird. Because like I remember like there were so many cases where like there are coins that you, but by going through the level you can't avoid collecting them. Like, wait, no, I wanted to save those for health, but like
Hmm.
by walking across this platform, I just naturally collects the coins.
See, I
Um,
like that feature. I think it was probably a feature that came out of necessity,
hmm
uh, based on just like, well, one, this you take a lot of damage all the time, and they were like, okay, well, we can't just have health power ups everywhere. I mean, there is a
yeah,
heart that floats that you can infinitely heal from,
yeah, and it's like the faster you ran through it, the more health you would get. I believe
something like that.
something like that. Yeah.
Um, but I think there is actually a reason why they used the coins because it's like, oh, we already
hmm
have coins. I mean, there also could have been limitations, and like we can have coins or we can have whatever. So it's like just combine them, whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
I like the system. Um, and also it is also kind of funny that oxygen is tied to your health as well.
Yeah.
So to get
I
fully healed, swim.
Yeah, because I remember like I'd be underwater and there was like the section with the eel, and the eel hit me like twice or something. Like, wow, I have like no health. And then I just went back to the surface and like, wow, I guess breathing air heals all wounds.
Well, the best is inhaling oxygen coins underwater, which you can breathe underwater forever as long as you pick up money.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some
Oh man.
weird stuff, but I mean, whatever. It's Mario. It is
Yeah.
weird to think about. It became normalized. I can't imagine playing the game for the first time and just being like it being very confusing. That why is coins healing me? There's a lot of weirdness.
Yeah. I feel like it goes a little against like your Mario instinct.
Mm.
That's what I'll call it. Like where it's like, as I said at the beginning, you jump on the Goombas. That's how you kill them. You collect the coins because they're money. But like now we can punch Goombas and we can collect coins because they're health.
Yeah, it's just odd
Yeah.
little thing. And the stars are now they're not invincibility. They're like your big objectives or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's a lot of stuff like that that's like we take for granted now that like we know about it. But when
hmm
it came out, I can't imagine teaching players how to do like move in a 3D space. Here's what coins are. Here's what stars are. Here's the level select. We're gonna have like a open world style kind of level select thing.
Yeah, I do think it was really impressive all the things that they managed to successfully teach players with such a honestly such like a groundbreaking game as far as like the platformer genre.
Yeah, I think maybe one more thing we could talk about for this segment would probably be the music and how really good it is, and also sound effects. I
Yeah.
guess I think this game has probably my favorite Mario sounds of all time.
hmm
Besides Chris Pratt Mario, I would say that my man Charles really just crushing it
hmm
with the yahoos and the oofs, all the different getting
Yeah.
hit sounds. No, I like they're so iconic, and I feel like, and they're used in like Smash and all those different things too.
Yeah.
Um, they are definitely my favorite Mario sound, and now Mario doesn't talk anymore, really, in new games. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the first time I heard Mario say Bowser, I laughed because it's like I just didn't expect it.
Yeah, Mario was pretty talkative this game.
Yeah.
If you stand still long enough, he goes to sleep and starts
Yeah.
snoring and talking about
Yeah. Like
spaghetti.
he says like I'm feeling tired or something
Oh,
like
says
that.
he says I'm a tired, and then
Yeah.
he goes ooh, and then he snores, and then if you wait long enough, he starts snoring and he goes a spaghetti, a ziti, or whatever. And I'm like, wow, they really
They
it's
really
funny
nailed
that
the Italian experience.
it is kind of funny that we're like, ha ha ha, Mario's Italian, but it is a little like, okay, well, this is a little on like if he was anything besides Italian, it would be like, okay, guys, like this is weird. I don't know why it's okay because like it's like, oh, funny meatball Mario, ha ha ha. But it's like, okay, well, this is like kind of a little stereotype a little bit, but
Hmm.
well, just that's why he doesn't talk anymore.
Yeah,
Maybe,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. The whole Mario's always been a weird character.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a very bizarre dude.
I always loved Mario in like the cartoons or other depictions of Mario, where he's just like, "Oh, I'm Mario," and he's like just like this like like guy from New York, Mario.
Yeah, it's the
Um,
Super Mario Super Show.
yeah,
I'm a plumber from New York.
I love those Mario and Luigi's. But the game Mario and Luigi's, they have no like personality except maybe in
Yeah.
like the Mario and Luigi RPG games and Paper Mario and stuff. But like in mainline games, like Mario, when's the last time Mario had a personality in a mainline Mario game?
Which, I mean, yeah, like Luigi has more personality than him nowadays, and he was literally only created because they needed to distinguish between player one and player two.
Yeah. I think maybe like Mario Sunshine was like the last game. Oh yeah, probably
Yeah.
maybe Mario Sunshine was the last game he actually kind of did something a little bit. I mean,
Hmm.
everyone was weird in Sunshine though. There was people there.
Yeah.
That game had voice acting.
I just remember spraying people with water in that game. That was
Yeah,
fun.
that game was good. It is jarring that there was full voice acting for like all the characters. Basically, it's really weird.
Yeah.
Weird choice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we covered Mario 64 Part One. This we I don't actually we never actually explained what Part One was.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So if you've listened this long, here's how we determined Part One. We determined Part One. We did both the first two Bowser fights, which we did the first two Bowser doors, and now we'll do the next two Bowser doors for the next podcast. If you're playing along at home,
Hmm.
probably pertinent information we should have mentioned.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we were so caught up in the Chris Pratt Mario joke that just like was just. I mean, the joke is just saying Chris Pratt Mario. I
Yeah.
guess we could talk about the Mario trailer. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. I thought it was amazing. I thought Bowser was really good. Like Jack Black just he knocked it out of the park. But
I
I
don't know if
gotta
you're. I
say,
don't know if you're being sarcastic or if you're being real because you're laughing.
it's because I'm thinking about Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
God, I was like, it's all so great. I even liked Toad. I thought like some people were on the fence about Toad. I thought he was fine.
yeah.
But God, the first time Mario opened his mouth, I remember my reaction. I paused, laughed for like a solid 2 minutes, and I said, "It's literally just Chris Pratt."
Yeah. Well, he's doing a Brooklyn thing.
Yeah, it was a slight Brooklyn accent, but like I expected like something crazy. Like so, when I first heard about Chris Pratt being Mario, I'm like, okay, I'm open minded about it. Maybe his audition was just crazy good, and then I'm like, wait, this guy just wanted to cast Chris Pratt as Mario. This is a big Chris Pratt fan.
Just big names, I think. I mean, this is
Yeah,
like an Illuminations movie. They're like the Minions people in Hotel
yeah,
Transylvania. And I mean, their animation style always looks really nice. Their
hmm,
movies are hit or miss. I think that I think it looks really good, the movie,
yeah. It looks
visually.
amazing.
I think Jack Black Bowser did a pretty good job. It does sound like Jack Black sometimes, and it's like, is
Yeah,
it Jack Black? That's kind of weird. Um, I do think everyone. It feels like everyone but Mario sounds good, and I wanted. I
yeah.
was going into this with the expectation of being like, all right, yeah, like I'll give Chris Pratt a chance, even if it was just Chris Pratt talking. I would be like, yeah, whatever. But it just like didn't sound that good. But it was only like one
Well,
second. Maybe if the whole movie you'll get used to it or whatever.
I
It really
think
was kind of weird.
I think what made it more weird to me was that he didn't talk very much in the trailer. Like I feel like if we got more of him, it would have been like a little better. But it was like the the timing and the amount that he talked is like you literally just got like the initial reaction and then it's like over.
Yeah, I mean that's probably very calculated. I don't know if it
Yeah,
was because they know it's not very good or if they wanted to give people just a snippet of it and then maybe they'll change it. I don't know if they'll want to like I don't know if they can re-record all the
yeah,
lines.
they definitely can't at this point.
Um
Yeah,
Also, this movie is for literal baby children, so we should
yeah, they
probably
probably don't care
chill a
much.
little bit about
Um,
like caring about it. But I think
yeah,
I didn't see the Sonic movie or the other one. Um, I might check out the Mario movie. I guess
yeah,
I don't know. That could be fun to go see. Or I
yeah,
don't know if I would go see it in the theaters, but
yeah.
at some
There were
point.
some really funny jokes surrounding it. Like somebody said, I think Jack Black could do any Chris Pratt role, but Chris Pratt can't do any Jack Black role because they were like saying they should have just made Jack Black Mario.
Yeah, honestly,
um,
that's just kind of a vibe. I love
yeah,
Jack Black in most like things, and
yeah,
I
I'm
guess
I'm a Jack
animated
Black fan.
stuff. Yeah,
Like you
like
were
Kung
saying,
Fu Panda is fantastic,
yeah,
and
yeah, Kung Fu Panda's great.
some other things. He's voiced other characters and stuff. But yeah, no, he does a good job. And I don't have like I watched a video where someone was like, "Oh, Jack Black sounds bad too." It's like I really don't think he sounds that bad as
And I
Bowser.
thought he sounded good.
Yeah, I thought he sounded fine.
Yeah.
Um, this is kind of a segment right now that we're doing where I kind of want to do this more with some more topics, especially when there's like game like Nintendo Directs and like E3. I think that'll be something we might do side quest episodes of just watching E3 and then reacting to it. I guess that could be fun, or we could do like a
Hmm.
live stream. But yeah, let's take it over to some viewer mail. If you want to send us an email about anything, you can send us something at hyeppodcast at gmail.com. That is hyep podcast at gmail.com. We have no messages this week, so I am making them up. Actually, here's some. Let's see. Is there any old messages we didn't answer? Let's see. No, these are
Mayhaps.
obscure games. I what I do every week now is I look up like funny podcast questions just to find like some of the worst questions of all time
Oh
and then
man.
ask those unironically. Let's see. Like how about like what is your ultimate goal? Just in general. Just what's your ultimate goal? I don't know,
Oh
soccer, like
man.
maybe to do a cool kick into a goal, maybe it's your life goal. Just what are you
Yeah, like
trying to
the
do,
ultimate goal.
James?
Like,
What are you
sheesh.
trying to do in general?
Yeah, makes you sound like an anime character or something. Like I want to be Hokage. Like,
Yeah, you want to become the next Hokage. Did you?
yeah.
Okay, so are you a big Naruto fan?
I've watched it before. I think it's good.
Have you seen
Not
all of
like
it?
a Yeah, I've seen all of it.
Okay, like
Not like a not like a fanatic,
yeah, but you've
a
seen it
Naruto
all.
fanatic. But yeah, yeah, I've seen it all.
I could have been a Naruto fan. I had the opportunity. I'm a One Piece. If my shonen of choice is a One Piece,
Ooh.
um, when I was young, there was the Cartoon Network block, not Toonami, uh, and I literally actually found out what it was called the other day, and I immediately forget again because it's the most forgettable name ever. I'll wait. Actually, let me pull it up. James, talk about your Naruto experiences while I pull this up real quick because I
Oh
have it
man.
saved.
Yeah, I remember I watched it on Toonami. And then there was like the at the end of like the original Naruto, it was all that filler, and like it was weird because I thought it was canon for a while, but it wasn't. And then like Toonami like ended, and then they had Naruto Shippuden on Disney XD. And I'm like, damn, what does Disney XD want with Naruto? And now Bleach is on Disney Plus, and I'm just thinking like, wow, these are like, wow, it's Disney,
Yeah, Disney owns
man.
everything. I couldn't
Yeah.
find it, and I also don't care that much because it's dumb. But there's a Cartoon Network block that was like Toonami, but for younger kids in the middle of the day.
Hmm.
And they showed anime or whatever, and they showed the 4 Kids dub of One Piece, which I was like, yeah, One Piece, this is great. I love
Oh man,
Zolo.
the
And
4 Kids dub.
oh my god, I cannot believe I mean everyone knows the One Piece intro from the 4 Kids dub where it's like
Yeah.
dreaming, don't give it. I mean that's like fire. That's great. The actual show, I cannot believe. Do you know a little bit about One Piece? Like, have you heard
Yeah.
the Funimation dub at all, and also the sub?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've watched like 200 episodes of it. I think
Oh,
I still
okay.
need to finish, but
So
it's gonna take a
so
while.
Oda still needs to finish as well, but
Yeah.
so Sanji, right? He sounds so Sanji in the Funimation, he's like I'm a suave guy, whatever, Sanji. And same thing in the sub. In the 4 Kids, Sanji is like, "Hey guys, it's me, Sanji." He's like this weird old man joke character, and
Yeah.
it's really strange. I don't understand.
God, Andy loves lollipops.
Okay, that is a cool change. I think it is cooler. It makes sense as a chef. He's smoking or whatever. I think it is cooler as a character trait if he was just a dude who looks like he's smoking but has just a lollipop. I think that would be that's way cooler. And if they don't mention it, I like that. I think that has always been cooler than him just being like, I'm just smoking. I think him looking like he's smoking, but then it was to reveal that it's like a lollipop. I think that's kind of a quirky, cool trait.
I'd also
That
like that would fit within One Piece too.
yeah. Um. Oh my god, dude, One Piece. I could have been a Naruto fan because they showed on Toonami episode 1 and 2, and I had never that was my first exposure into anime basically, and
Hmm.
I was like, what is this magic? Like, what is this crazy show? And of course, episodes 1 and 2 of Naruto also, I think he uses like sexy jitsu in like both episodes, and I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
a child, how is this allowed on television? What is this? Like, and there's violent and it was like action. I'm like, this is crazy. Um, and I was like, I'm gonna watch Naruto now. I'm a Naruto fan. And then it's like programming blocks, like how when does this air? And then I watch
Yeah.
like I'm like looking at one night it comes on and it's like episode like probably like 400 or something, and I'm like, or it's probably like episode like 30, and I'm like, what? I'm lost. Like I'm so lost. All I remember is Naruto starts. He's like, I'm eating ramen, ha ha ha. And then the next episode I watched, like they're in like a snow dome or something, and he's like turning into like a nine-tailed fox person, and there's like a big fight
Uh,
happening, and there's blood everywhere, and I'm like, what happened between episodes 1 and 2? It's like I will never keep up with this because it's like,
what episode he's eating ramen? The next is it's murder.
yeah, and it's also like that. Also, that show did kind of scare me a bit because it was like there was violence happening, people were dying and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, like
Oh
this
man,
is
I remember when
crazy.
he first like turned into his Nine Tails form. There was some like they did some like black and white, like almost hyper realistic like frame. It was really like it was cool, but it just like caught me off guard.
Just traumatizing me as a
Yeah.
child. No anime, like anime of that time, and you have to remember, people who are Zoomers at home, there was no like on-demand streaming services like at all.
Yeah.
So you watch what was on cable. You miss an episode of your shonen anime. Good luck. Good
Yeah,
luck. You'll never see it again because they're never gonna play reruns of it.
especially with Toonami where it's like it's a block like on a channel that's like it's a whole channel outside of that. So like those reruns did not happen.
Yeah,
I
you'll
remember
never see
like
it.
they only did the reruns for like Dragon Ball Z because like they that series was so popular that it was like I think it was like on Mondays they let them air Dragon Ball Z episodes like starting at 7 or something.
You see, I wasn't. Would have probably been way more into anime if it was easy to stream at the time,
Yeah.
because when I was a kid I was fascinated by it. I couldn't watch it ever. And I would watch Boba Bobo Boba Bo, which was great.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that was a great one.
there's a show called like Mar or something like that. That was, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of shows that were really good. Um, but I didn't really watch them as much because it was hard to watch them in a row.
Hmm.
Nowadays, you can just watch whatever the hell you want, and that's what happens when you watch like 800 episodes of One Piece. Just
Yeah.
still out here doing his thing. I did start reading manga, which I think is
Hmm.
honestly probably I think it's better than watching anime a lot of the times
Yeah.
because it's
It's
quicker and nice. You can keep
yeah, it's
up
a
with
lot
it.
quicker.
Um, but yeah, I guess that's a good like side topic. I guess that was off of what's your goal. So you know what? Maybe these questions are great. James,
Hmm.
what is your hidden talent? Do you
Oh, my
have a hidden
hidden
talent?
talent.
Yeah,
Sheesh.
these
Um,
questions are so loaded.
man, I gotta think about this.
All right, while you think, my like schoolyard trick hidden talent that I don't think I can even do anymore is I'm like double jointed in both my like arms, so I can like turn my like hand backwards or something if I'm doing it on a table. And it would always make people go like ew and like freak them out.
mhm.
Um, and that was like I was really flexible as a kid. I could like put my like leg like over my head and stuff. Like I was really flexible. And then one year we do like the fitness test or whatever, and I would always get like really good. Like I was terrible at everything fitness, and then
Mhm.
it would be like the sit and reach like stretch challenge, and I would
Yeah.
always do really good. And then one year it was just like, nope, that you're no longer flexible. That's your one claim to flame. Your one claim to fame is over. That's it. You're done.
Man.
Pack it up.
Um, yeah, I think I don't know if I can do it anymore, but I used to be able to beatbox, but like I
Okay.
did it weird. Like I can make like this weird noise with my throat, so I didn't have to like do the thing where I like put my hands over my mouth or
Oh,
anything.
okay. You could boots and cats with your in your throat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, and we're interesting. We're gonna have to hear the beatboxing eventually. We'll
Maybe
practice
one
it.
day if I can still do it.
Wow, what a good question. Wait. Question number 104. Just tell us a bit about what you do.
About
Just
what
what a
I
good question
do.
that is.
Oh man, well, I guess I can talk about myself. So I'm a game designer.
Mm-hmm.
I recently graduated from college, looking for a job right now. But basically, what game designers do is they are people in charge of your experience with the game. They make it so that you know what you have to do. They make sure what you're doing is fun. Um, they make sure what you're doing is, I mean, just generally possible. You know, they set up like all different systems and mechanics in your games, and they work with other departments to make them as polished as possible.
I like how you actually gave a genuine answer to like the dumb question. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
It did actually give us a little insight into the world of James. Something that we should probably, I mean, I guess over the course of episodes we'll kind of get into insight and off topic. Like these little end bits here are just kind of, more just we're vibing and hanging out, talking about stuff going on. Um, James, do you have anything going on in the terms of games you're looking forward to, or played
Um,
anything new recently?
Games I'm looking forward to. Well, I've been playing Overwatch 2 a bit.
Oh, we
Um,
could talk about that because I played a little bit of that too.
yeah. Um, so I played Overwatch back in like 2017 to 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really into it, and then I just kind of like burnt out of it. So I didn't play it for a while. So I don't necessarily have the same like the amount of things that are new for me are different for people who are different compared to people who have been playing the game like recently. Um, I think it's pretty good. I like the change that they made where it's like you only have one tank instead of two, and they removed a lot of like the stuns and just the general like clutter and like lots of just the extra stuff that made the game like just inaccessible. I imagine also like for people that watch the esports aspect of it, like the Overwatch League, it probably looks a lot cleaner. Um, and yeah, think like it's not like they completely reworked the game or anything. You know, I like the new additions. I'm a tank player, so it's just tanks fun. You know, they do cool stuff. They all got way over buffed. Um, but yeah, I think generally it's cool. I'd recommend it if you're into that kind of stuff. Like it's a good bridge between like MOBA and FPS, where like if you want to play it like an FPS, there are characters for you. If you want to play it like a MOBA, there are characters for you. Um, and yeah, I think it's overall it's always been a cool concept that I've been really interested in.
Yeah, I've always liked Overwatch since it came out, and then I've played it on and off throughout the years, so I've seen a lot of the changes. That game does rile up a deep bile hatred in me every time I play it.
Yes.
Sometimes, especially competitive, and it is this like I don't know. It's unlike any other game. The amount of rage I will feel when I play certain games. I mean, I will say I play support primarily, which will answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
I think support in Overwatch can feel disheartening at times, to say the least. I
Yeah.
did try playing some DPS and had a little more fun, to be honest. And I actually like
Yeah.
playing tank too. Um, but I always come back to support, and support can be miserable. If because I do think part of that comes to that down to the fact that the carry potential on a support is way lower. If your DPS is doing awful and your tank is doing awful, there's only so much you can do as a
Mm-hmm.
support, and it becomes disheartening. And that's
Yeah.
the I think ideally the most fun you could probably have playing Overwatch is with a full stack of friends. Like,
Yeah.
it just
Definitely.
yeah, and then communicating and doing all that. But it's just so hard to do. And I do appreciate the fact that they made it 5v5, not only in terms of how matches go, but now I can only I have to ask four friends to play the game. instead of
Yeah.
finding like a whole squad of people. Because trying to find like 5 other people to play Overwatch with you, unless you're like in a group that does that, is really hard. Like I can at a minimum, I can at best maybe find like one other person to play a game like that with me at any
Yeah.
given time. Um, and it's just like I don't know if I want to. Overwatch is a game you need to plan your day around. You can't just
Hmm.
like if you're gonna hop on and play quick play, you're probably not gonna have fun. Is my opinion
Yeah.
on that game, which is unfortunate. Which is why I never end up playing it a lot of the time.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up like the whole getting 4 friends thing, because that actually gets me onto a slightly different topic where it's like some games, competitive games at least, will they'll lean very heavily towards either encouraging you to solo queue or encouraging you to queue with like a stack. I know one thing that I really like about Apex Legends is that it's only you only need 3 players in a squad, so you can just grab 2 friends and go. And because of that, the game very much does encourage you to trio queue. Just the way that a lot of stuff about the rank system, the way that the game's built. Um, but games like Overwatch, like League of Legends, Dota, they lean more towards solo queue, and I think it's interesting the way that that choice works. A big part of it is like there's zero sum games, but I also think in video games in general, if you are the type of if your game at any point requires you to literally to coordinate a play with somebody to the point where you have to count down to do it, I think that there's a certain degree of frustration that will always be there if you are solo queuing.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
yeah,
And even if you're on mic with people, it's hit or miss. You could have the best game of your life. So pretty much what happens if you're playing competitive Overwatch, if you're on mic and you're in competitive and you're in solo queue, if you get the group that is like everyone's friendly, you're on mics, you're winning. If you get that group, the other team you'll see in the chat sometimes be like, I hate my team, blah blah blah, and they're all
yeah,
fighting each other. Sometimes you're on the you're all fighting each other team having the worst game of your life, or you're on the friendly team having the best game of your life. There's kind of no in between. There, are,
yeah.
I could probably count maybe 5 times of playing Overwatch for however many hours, having an actual good match of like, man, that was close. Both teams being like, you know what, that was really close. I had fun. Like, it is so rare for that to happen. It's usually just a stomp either way.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think my favorite part is at the end of the game when it's always like insert role here diff, like DPS diff, tank diff, and it's like, dude, you guys were arguing the whole game. I think it's a team diff.
Yeah, team diff.
Like, come
Yeah,
on.
it's a big
But yeah,
mentality thing, that game.
yeah. I think one cool thing that they've done though is they've given every role a little more carry potential. Like tanks do more damage. The newest healer they released is actually pretty cool because she can kind of do some DPS on her own.
Hmm.
And I've played a little bit of support recently as well, and I think a big thing that's really frustrating with the role is you have like the most perfect view of the game because naturally, like you're in the back, you literally like you don't have to turn around to see people. Like there's always the classic, the tank that they're going in, they're pushing forward, they're messing people up, and then like they turn around and it's like their team's getting flanked or something. It's very easy to get tunnel visioned in Overwatch because you don't have a mini map or anything.
Hmm.
So like all the information you need to like either physically see with your eyes or you need to like essentially like infer what's going on. And so like obviously when you're a support player, you're seeing everything that's going on. You're just seeing like utter chaos. Like nobody's playing in your line of sight. Your tanks just charged in and like used his ultimate 1v5 or something. Your DPS or I don't know, they're 1v1ing a healer and losing. It's
Yeah,
just like
and then you see
it's
in
just
chat
chaos.
regroup where like where's like need healing. Now, not
Yeah,
to
yeah,
say
yeah.
that support players are like faultless.
Yeah.
Um, you could be sitting there being like, okay, well, my DPS is terrible, my tank is terrible, and then you could be over here just like dying and being like, oops, that was my bad. I'm DPS, blah blah blah. Or I'm
Yeah.
support. Like, you also have to be good too. And like I've played with bad supports who play. I think the sign of a bad support most of the time is someone just trying to play DPS support, like playing
Hmm.
Moira and then
Yeah,
just
Moira.
using
Oh
DPS,
man.
never
Uh,
using healing, never doing whatever.
God, I could talk about Moira all day. That
Yeah,
character, man.
carried me to Diamond or whatever the hell when she came out. Um, Yeah. Anyway, that's enough Overwatch talk for now. We've gone over
Yeah.
time on the podcast. I've been Matt, aka Matt Fondude. You can find more of me and my exploits on Matt Fondude on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm going to be streaming Doki Doki. I almost said Panic again. Doki Doki Literature Club
Ooh.
tonight after this podcast. Well, it's not tonight for you. I'm going to be streaming that game now. Watch the VOD when this goes up. It'll be up on YouTube, the VOD. That's been a really fun run. You should definitely check it out. It's been one of my most favorite one of my most favorite games to have streamed. I think that I've done. And
Mhm.
this has been my co-host.
Yeah, I've been James, James04E on most social media, and James04E on Instagram. And yeah, I don't know. I don't have really a stream to plug, but I will be in my room playing video games tonight.
All right, on the sign off, give me your best Chris Pratt impression.
Uh, I'm Mario.